Donald Trump isn't just rewriting history. He's punishing anyone who dares to challenge his version of it. From pardoning violent rioters who attacked the Capitol, to blaming a rigged election for a foreign war, to standing by while his allies target free speech on college campuses. This is no longer just politics. This is a full-blown attack on truth, accountability, and education itself. And now it's taken a dangerous new turn, because Trump's education secretary just made a chilling threat to universities everywhere. How's it going, everybody? Hunter Avalone here with Occupy Democrats. Welcome back to another video. As concerning as it is, it's true. Trump's growing war on accountability, free thought, and democratic institutions is becoming more and more noticeable. Recently, the retiring Capitol Police Chief had some harsh words for Donald Trump's lawless behavior.
Capitol Police Chief Thomas Manger was pulled out of retirement to take the job, and he was tasked with rebuilding an already understaffed force and beefing up the intelligence unit, which failed so mightily ahead of the siege. 4 years later, Manger is stepping down after beefing up recruitment and securing some really significant budget boosts. But as he departs, Manger has some strong words for President Trump's Inauguration Day pardons of violent Capitol rioters who beat, maced, and gassed police.
That was probably one of my worst days in this job. I think sent a chilling message to every police officer in this country that, you can be involved in some massive public disorder event, and that you could have a politician later on decide that, well, I liked what this side was doing, so we're going to pardon all these people. It was, I think, a slap in the face to every police officer that was here.
Here's a slap in the face for Donald Trump, the guy actively and openly applauding and rewarding bad behavior, lawless behavior. It's an absolute insult to everybody who fought for democracy on January 6th. But Trump doesn't only attack free thought and democratic institutions, he also has an obvious allergy to accountability.
Said that the war never would have started if you were
would have never happened, and it didn't happen.
He doesn't seem willing to do anything that you want him to do. Do you still believe that he wouldn't have launched the war?
No, we would have never had a war. We would have never had a war. If I were president, if the election weren't rigged, you wouldn't have had the war. You wouldn't have had the war. You wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had October 7th. That would have never happened because Iran was stone cold broke. They didn't have any money to give to Hamas or Hezbollah. You wouldn't have had that Afghanistan most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. You wouldn't have had any of it. You wouldn't have had inflation because energy costs. Look what happened. I brought inflation down to practically zero. And all of the groceries and all of the eggs and all of the things that you've been hearing about, they're back down. They're way down from where they were. This isn't my war. This is Biden's war, Zelensky's war, and Putin's war. This isn't Trump's war.
Once again, here you see Trump deflecting responsibility, blaming a rigged election for global conflict instead of answering the question. Together, these stories show a disturbing pattern. Trump doesn't just reject accountability, he's actively reshaping institutions to silence dissent and control narratives. And that brings us to the most alarming development yet. That's right, Trump's education secretary has made a chilling threat towards universities across America.
And, they're taking off that hot seat, but Harvard wants to fight. They want to show how smart they are, and they're getting their ass kicked. Thank you very much, everybody.
President Trump is lashing out as resistance builds. Despite a judge blocking his latest move to gut Harvard's funding, he's still out claiming victory, bragging that Harvard is getting their ass kicked. But the real warning came moments later from his own administration. Education Secretary Linda McMahon took to CNBC with a message that should rattle every college across the country.
And yet my tax dollars are going for about $9 billion right now. I understand a lot of that is for research, good research, by the way. And universities should continue to be able to do research as long as they're abiding by the laws and are in sync, I think, with the administration and what the administration is trying to accomplish.
Fall in line with the Trump administration, or risk losing your federal funding. The implications of this threat are damning, to say the least. This means academic freedom takes a back seat to political loyalty. The Trump administration has been waging a war against Harvard for a while now, accusing the university of harboring anti-Semitism and even collaborating with the Chinese Communist Party. Both claims have been widely criticized as baseless. After trying to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status and block it from enrolling international students, Trump's moves were temporarily halted when the university sued.
And we had conversations with President Garber, and I expected that we would have more, but Harvard's answer was a lawsuit, so that's where we find ourselves, right now.
This is no longer just about Harvard. It's about whether Trump's America will allow universities to think independently or punish them for stepping out of line. It's a brewing battle between loyalty and liberty.
When truth becomes optional and education is treated like the enemy, the cost isn't just political, it's generational. The warning signs are flashing, and if we ignore them, we risk losing the very foundations of free society.